correspondence. And who was it made the kind introduction? May I know your name, gentleman, over there?
Sir, Dr. Gaurav.
Yeah,
Dr. Gaurav. All right. All right. Please. So I hope I'm allowed to share my screen.
Yes, sir, you can.
Yes.
I hope you can view my screen, dear audience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Before I start, let me just ask you, who was it attended my session at Chandigarh University, a month or couple of months ago? Was it Dr. Vara or Dr. Prof. Sharma? Who was it? Is there any?
Sir, research coordinate, sorry, sir, our research scholars of our university, faculty member from Galgotia University, as well as from the outside of the Galgotia University. Mostly are the PhD who are pursuing the PhD, they are attending this session.
I see. Thank you, Prof. Sharma. So, well, I was pondering about that. What kind of title should be chosen for the research methodology session of Galgatios? I hope I am correctly pronouncing the university's name. You call it Galgatios?
Galgotias.
Galgotias. Yes, sir.
Sorry, pardon me, Galgotias. So when I was thinking about that, I thought that why shouldn't I present, the kind of thing that I also present at Chandigarh? Because I found out from my experience that universities in South Asia, across South Asia, most of them have not yet introduced a course on research article writing, which is, I myself feel that many of my colleagues across the world feel that which is of utmost importance, especially for growing university like Chandigarh and growing university like Galgotias. All right. So that's why, if some of you have attended my talk at the Chandigarh, you might be disappointed because I have, kept the skeleton of the talk there, and I have just, I've tried to add some value with there so that I can make it more pertinent for the participants joining me this morning. All right. So you find that the title of my today's talk is Writing Research Articles in Curriculum and Syllabus. By that I mean that how, if it is already there, it is fine. Then we need to fine tune further. If it is not there, how we can take steps and why we should take steps to introduce a course on academic writing, or to be more specific, a course on writing research article. Why we should do that and how we should do that. When I talk about why, it doesn't actually that much related with research methodology issue, but when I talk about how, you'll find and you'll feel that how it is closely related to research methodology. So as you can see on screen, that I'm, first of all, before talking about the how, I'm trying to make sense that why the management at the Galgatios, the faculty members in different disciplines, not only, the faculty members serving in the English department or in the linguistics department or teaching English courses or linguistic courses, but all the faculty members across the spectrum. Say, for example, he or she might be a faculty member in engineering or in the business or in the social science. They should realize that why it bears some utmost importance to introduce a course on academic writing, to be more specific, a course on research article. So that's, I'm trying to make sense of it to the management, to different faculty members, especially to the faculty members who are going to teach or who are already teaching English or applied linguistics. And finally, I am at the later part of my session, the second session, all right, at the later half of my session, I'm talking about how to learn and teach research article by analyzing the very genre of research article. Of course, research article is a genre, and I'll be showing how to analyze it in the most acceptable form, and that's how we can reach the target audience, those who aspire to become good academic writers. By the way, dear audience, this is a 2-hour session, quite a lavish session. I don't think that I'll be taking less than an hour. So feel free to interrupt me at any point. If you find that any point is you find it confusing, you raise hand, or you don't need to raise hand. You just unmute yourself and you can raise your voice. All right. So these are two of my primary observations, because as a practitioner and a researcher in this area for nearly 2 decades now, I found out that we as South Asian, we have less significant impact in generating or providing generating knowledge and providing sustainable solutions for the planet Earth and beyond. Would you agree with me? The knowledge being created in other parts of the world in terms of quality and quantity, they outsmart the South Asians. All right. So that is one of the reasons that led me to choose to talk on research article and how to expedite the process, or how to pave the way for the process. And of course, among several steps to be taken by English language teaching scholars, especially with those with a focus in EST. So my feeling is that ELT scholars, those who teach English language across South Asia, they have a special role, especially those who teach English for science and technology, because we know there are different domains and subdomains. So in the applied linguistics, of course, ELT is a subdomain, but it has been further specified. I hope many of you are aware that EST is English for science and technology. But what I found and felt throughout my journey with academic writing, with my journey in research article writing, that our counterparts in other domains of knowledge, our faculty members in science, that is science, technology, engineering, and management, that is STEM, they have a crucial role to play, because we alone can do that. We need their collaboration, their cooperation throughout the way. And I'll be showing that why it is important that we alone can do that, or they alone can do that. So for example, engineering faculty members, if they teach academic writing, they won't be adequate for their students. If we alone teach or prepare the course and teach them, they won't be adequate. We need collaboration for very many reasons, and that can only ensure a meaningful course designed for the aspiring students or aspiring scholars, those who want to hone their skills in academic writing. So have a look at the knowledge creation, dissemination, impact in South Asia. The Indians, friends, those who are listening to me this morning, you might feel good, you might feel better compared to Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans, and Pakistanis, because your impact is moderate in knowledge creation, dissemination, impact. But there are lots of issues which might, underscore the importance or not importance, which I am not drawing attention to that. And as you can see in the map and in my written points at the left, that Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, they have less significant impact, all right, or insignificant impact. And rest of the South Asians, they have least impact. Because I hope those of you, or like me, those who browse for scholarly journals, you'll find that you'll hardly come across a research paper written by Myanmar scholars, someone from Myanmar, or someone from Bhutan, or someone from Nepal. All right. So that's why. But this is not the data has not been compiled and collected by me, but by Economist Intelligence Unit, one of the world's leading, I would say think tank. All right. So how is the scenario, or how is the impact, or how is the contribution of our geographical neighbors, that is Southeast Asia? Have a look at it. You can find it that Singapore, they have that high impact, despite the fact, it is a very moderately populated nation state, where despite the fact, that the number of population is very few, but they have some of the world's leading research or educational institutes, and resulting in their creating high impact. Malaysia is creating moderate impact, and Thailand and Brunei, they're creating insignificant impact. But I'm wondering, seeing the Brunei's name here in the list of insignificant impact, the reason is the kind of research that I've so far come across produced from Brunei, I have found that qualitatively they're very good. But the reason might be my explanation to that why Brunei is in the insignificant part is perhaps because the quantity is not adequate to get a high impact in the economist intelligence units survey. All right. And the reason is Brunei, in most cases, they hire a lot of foreign faculties from Western universities, and that's the reason that the quality is good. But I must say Thailand is gradually doing very good, especially in my area. There are some scholars there, they have worldwide significant research impact in the area of academic writing. But Thailand is gradually doing very good. So what about the Asian scenario overall? As Procaro in 2013 has mentioned that many ELT instructors in Asia delegated to each ESP without the opportunity for extensive preparation. This is what I've seen. All right. I don't have much exposure to the state of Uttar Pradesh's state of teaching learning situation in English, but I have deep connection with West Bengal and South Indian universities. I know that this is the situation they are like many places in Bangladesh and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. All right, that we teach English for specific purposes. That the faculty members they teach ESP without being exposed to the way English for specific purposes should be taught. Because what should I say? I mean, this is the practice, the kind of practice that is being embraced in South Asia. We have rarely pre-service training for the teachers, be it from primary to tertiary, and we have not adequate training for even for teachers of tertiary level. I know from my experience. Okay, so that's why Procaro's I fully subscribe to Procaro's statement that we go to ESP classes without being exposed to, or without having adequate training for that. Now, our two countries might be two typical examples. All right, what is happening across the spectrum? That's the point that I've just, elucidated or just shared with you. But in many universities across the spectrum, still general English courses offered for tertiary level institutions. Is there anyone from my audience can inform me what is happening at Galgotias? That is it general English or ESP course being taught, especially for students, engineering students or business students or social science students, or do they really get a course on English or they don't get? Is there anyone can unmute himself or herself and can be generous enough to respond to my query? Because I want to be enlightened as a speaker, as a researcher. I need to be informed about that. Is there any kind soul? The chat box, I see some chats, but I'm sorry that I can't pay attention to that perhaps. No one would be responding. All right. So if you're not responding, I would be assuming that yes, this is the course, this is the practice happening in Galgotias or
we have the general English course, and we also have a lab in communication to enhance our communication skills.
Pardon, what kind of communication skills you offer? Can you please repeat, ma'am?
Yes, sir. We are taught about the presentation skills, how do we interact in interviews and other sessions, and how can we represent ourselves on any platform, whether it be social, formal.
So you do both ways, huh? May I know general English, who are the target students for the general English course?
So all students of all courses are generally
meaning your students get both the general English course and the ESP courses. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for your response. So another thing, so that makes the rationale that do you really need a general English course? Then it is a debatable issue among the ELT practitioners. And another thing which is common is that the policy making chairs, in most cases, the strings are being controlled by experts, not in ELT or ESP, but but they're coming from other different specialities or other different what should I say, faculties, resulting in they are not aware and assuming certain facts. They make the policies, and perhaps one of the reasons is that students get general English across South Asian subcontinent. All right, and as I mentioned in my previous slide, that many of the English language instructors across the spectrum are not trained in ELT, though they teach the language in ESP settings. Okay. And another issue which I missed is that since the colonial rule, English literature department has been rampant in South Asia, and in many cases, these literary experts, English literature experts, they prepare the curriculum and syllabus on behalf of English language as well, resulting in many of the things are neglected. Many of the hard realities are neglected that are very crucial for our students. But the reality is, the reality is, we all know that English is the dominant language for very many reasons, and that's why Rwanda Nela in 27 they have mentioned that nearly half of all scholarly journals are published in English. So, we like it or not, we have to embrace English, especially in the higher education institution, especially for graduate students, especially for research scholars, especially for novice faculty members, because unless they don't know the art and crafts of writing research paper in English, it is highly likely that they won't be able to create the kind of impact that they want to create or being expected by the academia. Now, the research article as a genre and various studies that how to write research articles, what are the aspects that one should consider across the disciplines, have been gradually, exponentially, being accepted in the scholarly journals dedicated in applied linguistics. So we can see that exponential growth research in this area. I'll be showing a chart to show you. And recent studies, they don't think that studies are taken only from the perspective or keeping in mind only the scholars in English or academic writing or research article, but you will find that applied linguists, in collaboration with all different faculty members, especially engineering, business, social sciences, humanities, they try to demystify that what are the reasons that some authors are publishing in the top ranked journals and why some of them are failing to do that. Okay, so the collaborative researchers trying to demystify the means and ways of getting published in top ranked journals. So this is a research coverage. Within the genre of RA, you can find that each year gradually articles on research article are increasing. In 2018, it is 45. And by the way, let me show you one thing. The source is ISI Web of Science core collection. So I'm talking about the research and publications only published in ISI, or Thomson and Reuters. Okay, I'm not talking about Scopus and those who belong at the later part of the ladder. Okay, and you find that there are over 350 citations in 2018. I'm sure that it has increased a lot since then. So meaning that this is a case which not only as South Asian we should keep in your mind, across the world, any scholar, those who indulge themselves in applied linguistics, to be more specific, English language teaching or academic writing or research article writing, they should consider it to be a very fertile area of research, because they can get published, they can learn, they can teach, and they can flourish, they can enrich themselves, and through collaboration, through dissemination of their ideas, the thing that I'm doing right now, we can further, we can expect to get skilled academic writers in English across the world. Now, as a non-native speakers of English, or as a speaker of English as an additional language, I must bring this point into your cognizance, which is the cross-linguistic issue. That is, since my mother tongue is Bangla, you have a different mother tongue. Perhaps many of your mother tongue is Marathi. And India is a land where there are diverse, linguistic practices. All right. So people like us, those of us who are not learning English as a mother tongue, we should seriously consider the cross-linguistic issue for several reasons. All right. But what is the cross-linguistic issue? You can find that I have tried to explain it here. There is consideration of the case of local language, that is your language and our languages. Vis-a-vis or as opposed to writing research articles in English. Okay, this is the cross-linguistic issue in writing research article. That while we know that half of the journals are published in English, but despite the fact, efforts should be made, efforts should be taken so that research can be conducted and written in the vernacular languages, that is in your language and our language, because this is not my observation. It is because some of the pioneers in this field, like Kanagaraja, Perez Lalanta, and Francis Wells, they think that the dominant practice of writing research article in English is neither feasible nor sustainable for very many reasons. I need 2 more hours if I want to explain that why the dominant practice of writing research article in English is neither feasible nor sustainable. So that's why I'm not elucidating on that. But if the audience listening to me, if you really can't understand what is that, raise your voice, raise your hand at the end of my session. I'll explain to you shortly. Okay. And there's a scholarly body. I want you to become familiar about this scholarly body, which is PRISIAL. PRISIAL is publishing and presenting research internationally for speakers of English as an additional language. Okay, this is I would say this is the most prominent scholarly body. Those who think and talk about this cross-linguistic issue and other issues. All right. So this is a PRISIAL's a proposal in Tenerife statement back in 2008. This statement was proclaimed in 2008, but it still is very relevant for us, for many of the parts of the world. Let me read it aloud for you. The PRISIAL proposes. By the way, PRISIAL is one of the most prominent scholarly bodies, those who working on this area. Prof. Soros is part of it. All the big names in academic writing is part of it. They propose that new regional bodies be established in each region of the non-center world, that is Latin America, Africa, and Asia, to promote the referred publication of research in new formats and in languages that suit the needs of the region. So you understand that why these gurus in this area, the pioneers in this area, they feel that the publication of research should be in new formats and languages that suits the needs of the region. So what is the practical approach? The practical approach is considering a bilingual agenda, that we'll be writing in English without forgetting the issue of our mother tongue. That is, we should be striving or struggling even to produce research articles in our own languages, and maybe a decade or two, or decades later, we'll find that our language, vis-a-vis English or other dominant languages, knowledge can be written, knowledge can be produced in our own languages. So this is a different issue which I'm just trying to bring into your notice, so that I don't uplift the status of English unconsciously. All right, research clearly shows, different studies shows that ELT practitioners, knowingly or unknowingly, they promote the interest of English in many ways. So this is a short summary of the point that I have so far tried to bring before you. That is, research article is a key factor for institutions of higher learning, say university, for local and global standing. Because if we don't have good research article writers across the disciplines, we don't have strong local and global standing. And also, I'm trying to bring into your cognizance the biliteracy agenda, that is trying to write in English at the same time. There should be efforts as soon as possible, so that we start writing in our mother tongue. My remaining discussions would be on how to learn or teach writing this very genre, this is research article, or you can say broadly academic writing genre, using genre analysis approach. So there are different approaches. There are several approaches of analyzing genre. So genre analysis approach is one of them. There is the analyzing the genre of research article. So what I'm trying to do in the remaining of my talk is that how you can follow an established method of analyzing the genre of research article. And perhaps this is to me and to many of my colleagues across the world, one of the best ways, one of the most practiced or used ways of analyzing genre across the spectrum of knowledge, across discipline. By that I mean it might be engineering research article, it might be business research article, it might be social sciences as well as humanities. Is there anyone who has already consulted this book? I'm sure, if not many of you, at least some of you have consulted this book so far. Is there anyone? I'm sure that maybe you're not responding, but you have consulted this book. This is the seminal work, Professor Swales's seminal work on genre analysis. But Prof. Swales has shown that how genre analytic approach can demystify, can unravel the practices and conventions of any genre, be it research article, be it presentation genre, be it academic communication, be it conference proceedings. So this is how Prof. Swales has all started it with the book it published in 1990. But I must tell you the story that Prof. Swales wrote his master thesis on genre analysis back in the 70s, in the late 70s or in the early 80s. And that's how he wanted to, he started working on that. And he also served, in Middle Eastern universities, if I'm not wrong, even in Far Eastern universities. That's how he came across. He became aware that how these non-native speakers, are very weak in writing research article, and how hard they struggle, how hard they strive to do that. So that's why he wrote master thesis later. His beliefs are stronger and firmer that those are learning English as an additional language, they need support. All right. But while in 1990 he wrote genre analysis in academic and research settings, he has he's more focused and confined in his 2004 title, which is he has dealt with only research genres. All right, and of course, research article finds a prominent place in that. And if we talk about genre of any genre and the genre analytical approach, we have to keep Professor Swales at the forefront. As you can find that in these two books, he has analyzed he has provided move analysis. By that, which I'm explaining a bit later, what is move? Those of you are aware about that. I don't need to explain for them, but those of you are not aware about that, I will be explaining what is move analysis. Now, Prof. Searles is not the first person actually who introduced it. He actually is much old to his predecessors like Rommel Hart and Ortony. Okay, in the 70s and 80s, they developed the schema theory. All right, schema theory is like, it is a kind of broad theory which can be applied not only in applied linguistics, but in engineering, social science, and humanities as well. And by the way, Prof. Searles' framework has been further corroborated by Prof. Lin, a Chinese Malaysian, Ling Lin, who is also a Chinese scholar, and Prof. Perez Lalantada, who is a Spanish scholar. And I think that all of them have directly or indirectly, collaborated with Prof. Searles. And that's the reason, perhaps, they corroborated his ideas. But when I talk about, genre analytical approach for explaining research article, I should bring into your notice that there are other, frameworks or other analytical procedures with which you can, of course, analyze research article. One is Australian systemic functional linguistics. It actually look at the structure of research article. Okay, mostly linguistic structure. And if you're interested, of course, if you're really very scrupulous like me, that which one to choose for my practice, you should, look at Martin's work. Okay, that how systemic functional linguistics is undertaken to analyze genre of research article. You can also look at, neo-rhetoric approach, which looks more at, the social functions of writing research article. Okay, but I must add that the Searles' genre approach is a combination of both of these. It looks both at the structure, it looks both as well as the social functions of production of research article. The paper that you find on screen, this is a New Zealander scholar, Ian Bruce. He actually followed the SFL, Systemic Functional Linguistics. And this is how he has analyzed a genre in sociology and organic chemistry. Okay. You can consult it if you're really interested about SFL. Okay. And Ian Bruce is, he has very promisingly started. I don't, keep track of his work these days because I'm busy with my area. But I'm sure that when he's, producing stuffs on that, these are very quality stuffs. And if you really go to the direction of SFL, you should consider him. This is another work by Bruce. He has demystified the method sections in certain research articles. But of course, following systemic functional linguistics approach. This is a Searles' model. By the way, I have used the revised model because this is a bit, adaptation or modification of the first model which was proposed by Professor Searles in 1990. Now, you might be wondering, what is this? These are just several, by move, he actually meant the different strategies in writing research articles that the expert writers that they employ. Okay. So I'm not going to explain these things to you. I'm just telling you, Searles has devised different strategies. Okay, this is, say, for example, strategy one, then this is sub-strategy. Move is strategy and step is sub-strategy. So he has come up with 3 strategies and several sub-strategies under there, which is being used by research article writers across different disciplines. So he has come up with the notion, he has developed the model that no matter in which field you are writing research article, there are commonalities, there are overlapping generalized areas, and that's make it easier for us academic writing instructors, to arrange workshop or seminars or classes on graduate writing, because we can have students from different disciplines. What I have done, following Searles' schema, following Searles' model in 2017, because Searles himself has articulated that despite the fact that this model can be applied to different disciplines, it is better you devise different models for different disciplines. All right. So getting inspiration from source, I have tried to develop a model which can be applied to ELT journals. Those of us, those who want to publish in top-ranked English language teaching learners, say for example, TESOL Quadrant, say for example, English language teaching, say for example, ESP, or second language writing. I have developed this model analyzing the genre, analyzing the research articles in this area. So what I have done in my model, first of all, I have developed a corpus. Corpus is, I hope you're aware that the materials in any domain. So these are the materials in the journal articles published in English language teaching journals. What I've done, while I have devised the strategies and moves, I have followed not only source, but I have also been inspired by another Spanish scholar, Del Rubio. All right, the way I have developed my strategies being followed by skilled writers in ELT. What I have done, I have not only developed a model of strategies that the skilled writers follow. Apart from that, getting inspiration from Jason Lin, as I mentioned earlier, a Malaysian Chinese scholar, that I have found out that for non-native speakers like us, or non-native students, those who aspire to write, come to the academic writing session, or those who aspire to write good research articles, they should also make aware about the kind of linguistic choices, the choice of language being used by expert writers in the area of English language teaching. So this is the analytical framework that I have followed while I have developed the model, and I have analyzed the linguistic aspects. So these are the ELT related research articles which I have aspired to analyze. So first of all, my main intention is to explain the rhetorical structure. Rhetorical structure is both the strategies, explaining both the strategies and the language. So for move analysis or for strategy analysis, I have relied on processors, and for linguistic analysis, I have relied on Professor Lin, as I have mentioned earlier. What I have done, I have identified the moves and strategies being used by expert writers, and I've also identified, or I have tried to characterize the kind of language being used by those expert writers. Okay, so ultimately, what I have done, I have explored both the strategies as well as the kind of language being used by expert writers in the ELT-related research articles. So these are the strategies that I have found being used by expert writers in ELT. I'm not explaining to them. Maybe these are useful when I'm offering a workshop or graduate seminars for say for example research scholars or novice faculty members, those who aspire to write them. But these are the strategies which are found to be very crucial for English language teaching related research articles. Okay, but you can find that there are some of the moves or strategies, they are obligatory, some are quasi-obligatory, and some are optional. Okay, some of the strategies, they are obligatory in English language related research articles. Let me explain to you how I have decided. If I find that a strategy is being used by all the research article writers, then I have considered to be a obligatory or mandatory strategy. If it is used by 51 to 99% of the writers, then it is quasi-obligatory. It is less than 50%, then it is optional. This is a comparison between Searle's models and my model. The left is Searle's model and the right is mine. Okay, so you can find that there are some differences. Okay, there are some differences in terms of strategy used in English language teaching related articles. Because I hope you can remember that I mentioned the sources model is derived from journals of, across disciplines, both sciences, applied sciences, social sciences, and humanities, where the model that I've developed, it is derived from only research article in 4 journals, mainly, let me tell you the name of the journals, that is Second Language Writing, TESOL Quarterly, ELT, and ESP. Okay, all the top ranked, highly impact creating journals. So as I told you, my model has combined both the things, both the strategy and the choice of language. So in my study, it has been found out there are diverse range of lexical, words and grammatical choices being made by these other writers. But there is an area of caution which is being made by professors back in 1990 and 2004, and which have been also observed by me and my other colleagues across the world. That one is, I have mentioned, the sources models are derived from arrays of diverse disciplines. That's why we need the specific models for each and every discipline. Okay, and interdisciplinary comparison shows they both conform to and depart from practices in other other disciplines. Meaning what? Meaning, say for example, when you compare the journal articles of applied linguistics with, say for example, the journal articles with sciences and social sciences, we may find that both there are similarities, there are overlapping elements, and there are differing elements. So that's very crucial. So even though sometimes we offer graduate seminar or academic writing course for students or scholars coming from heterogeneous disciplines, we have to be very careful about that. But it is always best if we can offer a specialized or compartmentalized or customized workshop or classes for different disciplines. Now, how to become from an RA writer to RA instructor? By RA, of course, I mean research article. Is there anything someone trying to?
No. You can continue, sir.
So ELT instructor teach learners from heterogeneous domains of knowledge, as we know. As you know, some of you have just mentioned during my session that you teach different disciplines, and you teach both the general English and the specialized English, communication, presentation, and all those stuffs. So you teach sciences, the applied sciences, prominently various engineering disciplines, social sciences, and business and humanities. But research clearly shows that there are obvious differences among RA across knowledge domains and disciplines. So this is very crucial, because when you go to teach maybe the undergraduate students English to electrical and electronic engineering student, it should at least be slightly different from the way you are teaching computer science and engineering, or say mechanical engineering student, or say a chemical engineering student, because throughout their academic and professional lives, they encounter different sorts of, what should I say, genres. All right. So the best way to help them is to offer a specialist course for each of them. And I'm actually striving to devise and to develop specialist course for heterogeneous engineering disciplines. By the way, I served in the engineering university, so this is my role and job out there. Now, what is the future of research article writing or academic writing? The future is collaboration, because without collaboration, without multidisciplinary collaboration, as I have made the point at the beginning of my talk, we can't proceed for very many reasons. Especially it is because AI, artificial intelligence, with the rise of artificial intelligence, the algorithms being used by different programming, we can't do it there. Let me draw your attention to one of the papers, written by Elena Kotos et al. At the University of Iowa State University. What they're doing is that they are trying to provide, technology or AI-driven support for those who want to write research articles. And for that, there should be collaboration between applied linguists, academic writing or research article writing instructors with, say, for example, those with programmers, with of course scholars from particular disciplines. So, for example, we are trying to develop tools for business students. So we need faculty members from business. You need someone like me. You need also programmer, because I don't know coding very well. So we need and support from them. If I know coding, I'm not an expert on that. So these collaborations, even it is highly likely that if you have collaborations, if the funder, if they find that there's a research proposal, it is comprised of researchers across discipline, it is highly likely that we can get the potential funds and the money that we require to do our research. All right. So without collaboration, we need collaboration between different universities, faculty members. All right. And that's how we can come up with the best tools that we can deliver for our students, no matter undergrad, no matter postgrad, no matter research scholars, no matter novice scholars, because these are the people, those who need support and help, because they know the challenges to find a place in the scholarly world. It's very challenging, isn't it? To get published in top-ranked journals is utterly challenging. So in order to undertake the daunting task, in order to help our students to do that, we need collaboration. I repeat, the collaboration between a disciplinary expert, that is engineering, pure sciences, applied sciences, and social science and humanities, and applied linguists, more specifically, academic writing instructors. All right. So I've actually done with my the core element that I wanted to share with you. I have other things that I can have, many other things that I can share, but I know that making a lot of points on that, unless you develop an interest, unless you get into the point that I'm making here, it is not very useful. So I want you to raise your voice at this point of time, so that I can understand that you have got the point. But when you raise your voice, if I find that you have not been able to raise the pertinent question on my discussion, I will be showing you the question and I will be explaining that. Or I'm sorry, my video is off. So is there anything that you have found confusing? Number one. Number two, is there anything that you want to ask me? Depending on I'm assuming that these are the future courses of research in this area. Please feel free, or you can raise your voice on anything that I have talked or perhaps I haven't talked. But by the way, to really assist the graduate students and novice scholars and faculty members, you need academic writing workshop with dedicated students and dedicated faculty members. They're the best way of assisting them. All right. I think my core points are done. There are many things. If I find that my audience are with me, I can perhaps explain it to them. Thank you.
Yes, dear participants, now the session is open for the question answer. You can unmute yourself for asking the question. Please, if you have any query, you can unmute.
Stop sharing for a while, but I'd be sharing another document but if I find there's a question on that, I don't need to voluntarily introduce that document.
Okay.
By the way, let me just get informed about one of the issues. Is there an academic writing course at Galgotias?
Pardon, sir?
Is there, does Galgotias offer an academic writing course for undergrad or graduate students?
Sir, not as such a course, but we are organizing several workshops related to research writing and project proposal writing.
I see. So project proposal is very close to research article writing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because there are a lot of overlapping elements. By the way, project proposal or grant proposal is another genre, and there are some works, some researchers on this area. I've come across. All right, and I'm
Yes.
interested to that actually. So you're doing that. You're doing that. You have started that, but
Sir, we are teaching research methodology subject in BS, UG, and PG and PhD coursework. That research methodology subject consists part of research writing also.
All right, but
Yes.
universities of advanced nations, the top-ranked universities of the world, they offer dedicated course on academic writing together with research methodology. Of course, you need research methodology, but they have a separate course on academic writing, because research studies clearly showed that help graduate students a lot. And that is the reason that the title of my talk is Research Article Writing into Syllabus or Curriculum. That why we need the academic writing or research article writing course in the curriculum, why you should do that, and how we should do that is the actual topic of my talk.
Yes. If anyone has any question, any query related to research methodology and the process of research writing, then please you can ask.
Yes, you can talk about even research methodology, because the workshop is on research methodology.
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah. And I have a lot of interest in research methodology. I even started, preparing my talk on research methodology. But later I thought that since I have got an opportunity of meeting new people, and this is a very young university, I've seen Calcutta is a very young university established in 2011.
Yes.
So I thought that, I should share my idea of having academic writing courses in the syllabus. That's why I talked about that. And of course, the later part of my talk was on the research methodology, how we can follow certain methodological approach to analyze research article for academic writing. If audience doesn't so far have a question, let me share another slide of mine, and let me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Let me show you one thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have written down a question for my audience, because I thought that if the question is not being raised, then I would be, raising the question myself. That's what I do even in my undergrad class. If I find that the students sometimes, they can't come up with a pertinent question, then I do the question. They tell me that, yes, sir, this is the question that was haunting us, but we couldn't ask you because of very many reasons. The question is how to initiate a dedicated academic writing course, or to be more specific, a course workshop on writing research articles. All right. So that might be a question pertinent for you, and let me show you that how you can persuade your management's interest, or how you can persuade someone in the faculty of engineering, the faculty of applied pure sciences, or in the faculty of social sciences, that why do they need the support of academic writing instructors. Let me stop sharing and let me share another of my file. I hope you can view my screen, dear moderator. Can you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this is a paper, research paper, one of the aspiring scholar come up in one of my workshops. All right. So I don't exactly remember what particular discipline he belonged to. It might be in a business, he might be in economics, he might be in public policy or government, because there are a lot of overlapping elements in this particular paper. So when people come to academic writing or research article writing workshop, they come up with their individual paper, which they are trying to publish, so that they can get help from me. So when he has come up with the paper, he told me the story that this paper has been the kind of response from our top-ranked journal, ISI Index journal, was like that. That well, the content of the paper is good, but we perhaps can accept it provided you can bring kind of effective language with precision and a concise language, and there are syntactical clarity, an organizational pattern is, properly followed in a write-up, only then we perhaps can. But the content is fine. Because the title, you can have a look at that. This is a comparative analysis of highway PPP in China and overseas. This is the paper on. So I'm not sharing each and every of my feedback on that, but let me share, some of the points. First of all, let me show you the title that I have, rewritten for this paper. It was comparative analysis of highway PPP in China and overseas. I couldn't figure out what actually he wants to tell in his paper. But later, when I read the entire paper, I found out that this is actually the analysis of PPP in Chinese public-private partnership and other two nations public-private partnership. What are the efforts being made by them? China, perhaps New Zealand, and another country. I don't exactly remember because this is an year ago. Okay, so I've rewritten the title. I hope you can see my cursor, dear moderator. This is analysis of PPP, China versus vis-a-vis two other forerunners maybe. But it was written by him, comparative analysis of highway PPP in China and overseas. Let me draw your attention to another sentence, a couple of sentences more. Say, for example, have a look at that. This is how he has written about the PPP in public-private partnership in New Zealand. He has written down, in order to meet the growing demand for school, hospital, and other infrastructures, many creative work has been done in New Zealand, including PPP. So I'm sure that, in none of the top-ranked journals are going to accept this kind of language. Okay. So what I have done, you see, I have replaced some words and phrases, and I have rewritten and reorganized the entire sentence. And what I have also done, I've also rewritten the different sentences as well as, I have organized the entire paragraph in many cases. So have a look at the effort that I have made in rewriting this sentence. I have replaced growing with the burgeoning demand, okay, because it is more appropriate, I found it to be. I have replaced many creative work with several innovative steps. And that particular student has written, research scholar, including PPP, I have written with regard to PPP. Let me read out the entire sentence written by the student and written by me. He has written down, in order to meet the growing demand for school, hospital, and the infrastructure, many creative work has been done in New Zealand, including PPP. So it does make some sense, but if you look at my sentence, I think, it is very clear that the message that I want to convey to the reader. The burgeoning demand for public infrastructure led New Zealand government taking several innovative steps with regard to PPP. All right. So this is what I have done. Let me draw your attention to another sentence. In order to meet the demand for development, the previous Foreign Trade Ministry issued the notice on relevant matters concerning attraction of foreign investment through BOT in January 1995. So this is what we academic writing instructors call run-on. The way you're writing is difficult to follow. I've tried to make it like this. I have written, you should consider the following suggestions for this sentence to make it clearer. So this is my effort. In January 1995, China's first regulation PPP was issued by the former Foreign Trade Ministry, titled. So what they have done, that China's Foreign Trade Ministry, they have come up with a regulation. The title of the regulation was Notice on Relevant Matters Concerning Attraction of Foreign Investment through BOT or BOT. Okay. So there are several of my observations. There are many things that have, say for example, when the students written down note, I have suggested please use it as note word instead of note here, because the native speakers or the rhetorical structure of English written, academic writing English, it doesn't appreciate note in a context like this. Okay, so there are several of them. Let me show you another example. Okay, there is no dedicated law on PPP, and the guidance on higher PPP program varies from a state to a state, generally involving policy guideline, advisory note, and technical note. So when you read, of course, you'll find like it's difficult to follow. But I hope that that might be of some use. All these guidelines and regulatory remarks are inspired by the PPP policy of New Zealand, issued in 2001, that provided operational framework for governmental participation in highway PPP programs. So I hope that you'll find my effort is far more clearer. So why I have shared the document, let me, I didn't tell it to you. The reason is, when you can show a document like this to aspiring scholars, or, I worked with engineering students, business students, and I mean, scholars working in the discipline of environmental sciences. And when they know that, I can, or, the academic writing instructors can provide support to them, only then they will feel that, yes, they need that kind of support. Otherwise, only then they'll be convinced. If you say that, no, if you tell the management that, yes, they need a course like this. But if you can't argue that why do they need that? Because you can provide such effective support, and that particular student later sent me an email giving a very big thanks that that was really useful, and he now gets published in the top ranked journal. That really helped him a lot. So that kind of authentic materials, they need to use it. And have a look at that. I have written few forewords for that particular student. I've written, dear author, because I have to make him understand that how I have worked on that. I really enjoyed working on your document. This is my, the beginning words. You have made good efforts and shown your potential that you can turn out to be a good research writer. However, I have made some changes in your document. So what are the changes that I have made? Change of words, phrase, sentence structure, and overall paragraph organization. This is what I have done. I haven't, intentionally tried to bring any change in meaning in order to make it clearer for your target readers. The changes are also intended to adhere to the widely accepted norms of prestigious journals and publishing houses across the world. Nonetheless, please carefully check all my revisions and comments to make sure that I haven't altered your intended meaning. If you notice any inappropriate changes, please bring them to my attention so that I can provide suitable, I'm sorry, there should be a space here, suitable alternatives. Okay, so I have many other suggestions for that in the initial words. So this is how actually the ELT practitioners, the academic writing instructors, to be more specific, research article writing instructors, we can provide support, scholars, students across disciplines. Okay, I'm stop sharing my screen. So any kind of response I can expect, I may expect to hear from the list, from the participants.
Yes, dear participants, if you want to ask, you are free to ask. Please unmute yourself to ask the question.
Or if you find that you don't
Yes,
want to talk about my the thing that I've talked, you can also talk about your existing practices in your classes. As one of my colleagues, at the beginning of my talk, she told that they have sessions on ESP sessions like communication, presentation, and all the issues. Because I'm doing it with my undergrads for nearly 2 decades now. I saw a hand.
Yes, Manoj Kumar.
Yeah.
Yes. Manoj?
Mr. Kumar, can you please raise your voice?
Yeah, so good noon, Professor, and it was really wonderful listening to your lecture on ELT and all, and I really highly appreciate it. So I had a query: how this British Council course of CELTA helpful in academic writing?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you so much
for your question. I have been several times invited by the local Bangladeshi British Council Center to be a part of it, but I couldn't make it. I didn't have time to do that. But CELTA or any other course would certainly help you, because that will make you familiar with the kind of academic writings required in your specific institution or in the region. Okay, so they have developed a kind of corpus, the kind of material that you are dealing with in a specific situations or regionally or nationally. So when you come across with that, they have kind of workshop, or they have a lot of theoretical lectures on that, and they will, in the workshop, they will give you certain tasks. After teaching you certain things on academic writing, they will give you tasks and they'll check it out, that how competent you are academic writing instructor. And I'm sure that you can get benefited out of it. But I'm a firm believer that in a world of Google, where you have Google at your fingertips, you don't need to take a commercial course. Okay. You can just Google, and I'm sure that you'll find better materials than CELTA, providing in different internet sources. Of course, for that you have to be a bit of kind of smart in how to find your appropriate articles for your course.
Actually, I had been associated with the British Council for a couple of years now, before the pandemic came into the world, and I did all my effective courses from the creative writing and effective communication skills, and creative writing course one in particular very helpful to me. So I was just acquiring whether I should pursue CELTA further or not.
Mr. Kumar, if you find that you are not smart enough to find your own materials online, I think you should subscribe to CELTA. But if you find that you know what to do and you can find ways, searching web, how to do that, then you need to go there. That's my answer.
Okay, got your point. I could read between the lines. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Okay, any other question?
Maybe if MPhil, can I share another slide, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So when I talk about academic writing, when I talk about cross-linguistic issues, let me show you another thing. This is actually a kind of elucidation of the point that I have made earlier in my talk. There is, I hope you can recall the pre-ZL issue that I have earlier, brought into your notice. So this is the cross-linguistic issue, isn't it? Which talks about how you can take steps to how you can consider the issue of the local languages, but I haven't explained it that much. Let me add a point or two with that, because why do we need to, produce research in our own languages? I hope you're aware that, decades ago, the Germans, the Japanese, the French, they didn't want to speak English, nor did they want to write in English. But gradually, they are accepting the reality. But while accepting the reality, they have followed the critical pragmatic approach that I have shown, that is considering the bilingual agenda. You'll find that when Spain is doing very good in research, at least in my area, in many of my colleagues' area, and South Korea is doing really good. In China, of course, China's name everyone knows in the area of research and publication. What do they do? While they take, they're forced to write research paper in English, parallelly, they write in their own language. And Spain has the policy, Spain higher education, that no matter you're publishing, in international English journals, you have to write another version in Spanish. Okay, I've seen in Malaysia, they're doing the same thing. Korea is gradually approaching it. Japan, France, and Germany is doing it for many years. But with South Asians, we are not doing it. As Bangladesh, Bangladesh is only nation on earth who sacrificed blood for their mother tongue, who fought against the Pakistani to preserve our language, that is Bangla. But still, there's a Bangla Academy to promote the language. But still, at least I feel that I need to wage a movement so that we can incorporate the practice of research article writing. We can start incorporating research article writing in English for several reasons. Because there are several scholars, they have told us, they have warned us that if you write a case study, say for example with issues on Greater Noida or issues of Dhaka, and if you don't write it in Bangla, maybe you will be able to draw the attention of the local experts, or the local practitioners, local activists, local political leaders, because many of them are not that proficient in English. Number one, many of them don't have the time to to look at the English journals. But if you can publish vis-a-vis the local language and can draw the attention to it, the research findings to them, the local case studies, we can see its best effect. Okay, so it is for two reasons. One is we are promoting one is drawing attention to the local activists and policymakers. The second is we are paving the way for our language is not going into extinction, because for last couple of centuries several languages has gone into extinction. And a language dying is not a language dying. A language dying is a culture dying. A language dying is many sustainable habits are dying. Okay, so with that in mind, I draw your attention that scholars across the world like you and me, we should really very seriously consider the issue of bilingual agenda. That is, trying to produce knowledge in English. Otherwise, it is highly likely that if it is used by the minority of the people, gradually it will go into extinction. I see Mr. Vishal Kaushik has raised his hand.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I think thanks for the enlightful session and kind of walking through it. So I have one question with respect to the outcome. Basically, how do you assess the outcome of the research paper which are being written, right? In terms of, is there a kind of a scoring framework or guideline to assess the outcome in terms of the kind of research paper written? Though I think the research paper get published, right? But then how do you kind of assess it for the kind of outcome it will bring? So from a success perspective.
Mr. Kaushik, your question is, how do you assess the do's and don'ts in a research article?
Do's and don'ts, and then how do you say it is the kind of fit for purpose, right? Or this is what the outcome should be of the research paper, right? So when you are planning to write a research paper, you will have some key, basically KRAs, key result areas, right? You will be targeting with respect to the research, right? And then how do you assess it for that outcome? Is there a scoring mechanism framework?
Well, Mr. Kaushik, this is a very critical and very good question, which I was anticipating, because the kind of answer that you are expecting it has thrown us to the world of politics of academic writing, okay, which has been elucidated by Professor Kanagaraja for many years now. Because it is not me in a workshop like this or in a talk like this, I can't tell. It is the editors. These are the editors of those target journals. They are deciding what are the do's and don'ts. And in many cases, those editors, if they're native speakers, they tend to disregard the limitations of a scholar whose language is not, mother tongue is not English. And if he's a non-native, in the editorial board, the non-native speakers of English, either they're highly proficient, they tend to follow, or they don't know that they should also allow the kind of limitations within the scholars when they're striving to write journals. So this is what Prizial is recommending, and Prizial is advocating, and Prizial is trying to promote throughout the world. But unfortunately, Prizial is a minority body of scholars, like many other fields. Because in most cases, you find that the non-profit people, they are usually marginalized. They are telling all the best things, but people don't tend to hear them. Like Prof. Chomsky, Prof. Chomsky, as a linguist, as a political preacher, as a philosopher, telling all the good things to us. Arundhati Rai in your country. And I'm a bit followed these two scholars. They're telling us all the good things, but how many of them do you really follow? But we for publishing, we need to rely on the editors of those, of the top-ranked journals. And in many cases, they tend to disregard all these things.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mr. Koshi?
Yeah. Thanks for enlightening me. Thanks. Yeah. It makes sense.
I saw another hand. I can recall. Mr. Kumar, you have a second question. It seems.
See, one of the drawbacks which I see in the writing the research articles in the regional language will be the citation problem and the acclamation all over the world, because not many people in the other countries will be able to, read or comprehend the article so well. So this is one of the drawbacks. So I think we need to be very skillful in writing the structure articles like in a format, and in order to that, this prism and this kind of.
Mr. Kumar, if I could get your question properly, or the point properly, the answer would be no. I don't. At this point of time, I'd be asking you to writing your research paper in Dravida or in Marathi, but you do in both ways. You make it bilingual. You write in your own language and also write in English. All right. Then you won't find it difficult to reach greater audience, or with citation, or with other organizational challenges that you are indicating.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you.
All right. If I'm not, I saw another hand being raised. Who was it? Mr. Moderator, did you notice that?
No, sir.
There's another hand. A lady. The name sound that it's a lady. Check out the raise hand.
Yes, sir.
People. Huh?
She has lowered the hand.
So she has lowered the hand. Huh?
Yes.
That might be a wrong press of the button, unintentional press of the button. Huh?
Yes. Okay. If you have a question, then please ask.
So there might be question in that your session. What is that called?
Yes.
The chat session. Chat. How is British Council search? Oh, Mr. Monas must put it.
Yes, already, sir.
Oh, how
You
to
have
write
discussed.
a PhD thesis? There's a message. There's a question from someone. How to write research article in good journal? Meenakshi's Saini, she has written down. There are a lot of questions in the chat box. So yes, to answer the question from someone, I can't read the full name, who has asked me about how to write a PhD thesis. Yes, there are a lot of authentic guidelines in the form of books and monographs that how to write PhD thesis. So in a lecture like this, it's difficult to explain how to write a PhD thesis. I would suggest you to follow the books written on how to write a PhD, especially if you follow the books and articles written by Professor Searles. I think that you would be really benefited. But I must add that following Professor Searles' research, or there might be his predecessors as well, there are many materials online. Okay, but if you have a particular case with PhD, that how to write in introduction part, or how to write that subsection of introduction, I perhaps can give you an answer. But if you in a peer session, if you ask me how to write a PhD thesis, it's perhaps very challenging, and it's quite a daunting task, which I can't handle at this moment. Okay, but I would strongly suggest you please go through the books and materials produced and prepared by Professor Searles and his predecessors. Another question is how to write research article in good journal. Though the person who has asked me the question, can you please tell me that what according to you is a good journal? If you can tell me what is a good journal, then perhaps I can tell you how to write research article for good journal. Can you try telling me What is a good journal, quote unquote? Huh? Because there are a lot of politics in good journal. In ranking, there is politics, you know. So we know those who are, you know, aware.
Good afternoon. I'm Vikas here on this side. We are looking for Scopus journal.
Mr. Srivastava, yeah, I hear some broken sounds, but I can't hear you properly. Can you please repeat?
Good afternoon, sir. Vikas here on this side. I was looking for writing article in a Scopus journal. How I can go about writing it?
Is it that you're asking me how to write for Scopus journal?
Yes. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Srivastava, for your question. We know that there are, if not millions, there are hundreds, if not thousands, there are hundreds of Scopus journals. Am I right, Mr. Srivastava?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, what is the area? I mean, area that you are intending to write? Is it in
clinical research in optometry?
Clinical research in
Optometry, eye, field of eye.
Do you have any particular journal in your mind? Any specific journal in your mind at this moment?
Indian Ophthalmology Journal.
All right. So Indian Ophthalmology Journal, if you are aiming for. My suggestion would be, if there is an academic writing workshop, of course, you reserve a seat for that. If not, next time when there's the academic writing workshop, reserve a seat for that. Then you download, if the journal that you mentioned is open access journal, you download, say for example, 5 to 10 journals, 10 articles on your area. You
Okay.
read them very carefully. You also download the section in the online journal. You'll find there's a section that instructions for the writers. You
Okay,
download it, you write it very carefully, you underline the relevant section. You will also find some generalized, instruction for the writers. You both consider the generalized instruction and the direct instruction for the writers. You read them first. You read a couple of journals, if not 5 to 10, and then when you come up with your idea, you explain following the instructions being mentioned in for the writer's instruction section of the journal. And then when you finish writing that, if it's possible, there's an academic writing workshop, you go with your paper. Okay.
Okay.
And then you show it to the person who is organizing the workshop, or who is the facilitator of the workshop. And then I think if you send your paper to your target journal, I hope that it won't be at least rejected. They will ask you corrections or modifications, major or minor. But I'm sure that if you can write following their guidelines and if you can show it to an academic writing instructor, they will accept it sooner or later.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
So, sir, I think there is no more question.
No question.
Dear participants, if you want
Yes,
to
sir.
ask,
Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Am I audible?
yes, Pradhan.
Yeah. It is electronics background, and my research field is based on biosensors. So, as far as the research work is concerned, it is going very good, but the writing part and the literature part, that I found some difficulty. So, if I take help or hire someone for research writing, so is it ethical? Clear?
Mr. Moderator, could you hear Mr. Pradhan clearly?
Yes, sir. I get the point
From
that
my end,
he want to ask.
No, I
that-
got the
Okay,
essence of the question.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
got
yes,
the
sir.
essence of the question,
Okay.
but unlike yours is quite clear. But Mr. Pradhan's, thing was coming in a cacophonous.
Yes, sir.
So if I could get your point properly, I would highly discourage you, Mr. Pradhan, to hire someone on your behalf who would be, writing the part you find it challenging. Because that will make you dependent on these hired people over the years. But I would say initially you may find it challenging to write on your own. But if you write on your own, following the suggestions that I have just given to one of the research scholars or faculty members, I exactly don't know. So what you should do, other than hiring someone, you follow the guidelines provided by the journal. Then you try to write on your own. If you have a good friend in the English department or ELT department, you take his suggestion or consultation for the first and second draft. And if possible, then you go to academic writing workshop where there are experts, real experts can understand your paper and you can help write the way it is being expected from the journal. Then I think that this is where that you become autonomous learner. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we should learn how to do things, not to solely relying on people, those who can help us with. Of course, online and offline, you may get people who would be writing on your behalf, but that won't help you flourish and thrive as a scholar. Okay, you'd be dependent as a scholar throughout your life. That's not expected in any of the academia. That's not expected in the scholarly world. I hope that makes sense, Mr. Pradhan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable inputs.
Glad hearing that you're convinced.
Okay. So we think that there is no question from the participants. So this is very good session, sir, and a very interactive session. So I would like to thank you once again for accepting our kind invitation and for the discussion of research article, writing research article, the development of curriculum, syllabus, and cross-linguistic issue in writing a research article and how to learn, teach writing research article using general analysis approach. So there was a very fruitful session for our participants that certainly helped them to flourish and help him to write a good paper. So kindly accept our gratitude and a memento, a token of love from the Galgotia University family.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
I hope I'll get it via email, so that I can.
No, sir. No, sir. No.
No, I'll be getting it by email.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or can I download it from here? Because this is what I take home.
We will say, yes, sir. This is the virtual, but we will send the same through the mail.
Do please
Yes,
do send.
Yes,
be kind enough to send it. This is what I take home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
You're most welcome. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Prof. Sharma, are you with us? Sharma?
Sir, she is busy
not here. All right.
in NAC work.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Do send my thanks to her for inviting me for this session.
I have already, sir, conveyed.
Yeah, and I would be looking forward, for any kind of collaboration, any kind of workshop, online and offline. Okay, because this is, I feel, a kind of duty for me to help, South Asian scholars in writing and getting published in top 10 journals. Because as I mentioned at the initial part of my lecture, that in knowledge creation, dissemination, impact, we are at the bottom of the ladder. So my challenge, my movement is to go and help our scholars to go bit by bit, maybe. So thank you once again, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you everyone for patient here.
Thank you.
Yes. May I take leave, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, can you please send me the YouTube link via email when you send me or someone send me the memento?
Yes, sir. Of
Can
course.
you send me the YouTube link in the chat box?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sending, sir.
I have a copy of it. Yeah, I got it. Let me check out. It's live, huh? Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's going live. Someone send me the momentum.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Send me the YouTube link in the chat box.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sending, sir.
I have a copy. Thank you. So may I take leave from the session?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank
And
you very much.
okay.
Yeah, let me check out.
Sir, okay. So, dear participants, we have another speaker in the second session, Professor Chetty from the South Africa. So, the session is preponed, and you all are requested to join at 3:30 p.m. After that, we will join for the valedictory session. So, you all are requested to kindly join the session at 3:30 p.m.